everybody. All right, let everybody get on here. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who are on, if you'd like to come on video, you're more than welcome to. We will be hanging out with you today while Maria is speaking. Go ahead and drop us a chat. Tell us where you're from. Tell us maybe if you're not in the planning field, or what your Wedding Pro category is. We'd love for you guys to drop questions or anything in the chat as we go. Maria is going to introduce herself here in just a second and lead us through some slides. If you'd like to watch, see her video while she's going through it, you can click on the three dots next to her picture here and pin her video for you. So if you want to do that, feel free to do so. Without further ado, I will pass it over to Maria and let her go from there. But if you guys have any questions as we go, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll be monitoring that, and we'll have some Q&A after Maria does her session. So thank y'all.
I do really quick want to ask everyone to mute themselves, please. Thank you so much. Yeah, Maria, go on. Let's hear about it.
Amber, did you want to say anything to start out with? It's your room. So
yeah, let's do this. There are people here that may not know who I am. There are people here that may not know who you are, because we kind of cross-promoted here. So my name is Amber Anderson, and I run Refine for Wedding Planners. And so primarily it is a community for wedding planners. So that's who I serve. I do try to bridge the gap across categories to just have open conversation and dialogue to help, photographers, what can we as planners do and whatnot. So we do have those kinds of conversations. Maria and I go way back. We've met each other in person a few times, and so I'm excited to spend this virtual hour with Maria and with all of you. And with Refine, I will say this really quick: we offer templates, courses, mentoring, and we have a fairly large Facebook group community similar to the one that Maria has, but ours is specific to wedding planners. But it's the same. I mean, it's really engaged and supportive and whatnot, and run pretty similar to the way Maria runs her group. So, Maria, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll let you take it from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, first of all, Amber, for having me. It's great to be here again. If you're new here, this isn't my first time that Amber and I have collaborated, and so I'm always happy to collaborate with you. We have so many similar clients and on both sides, and so happy to be here. So I'm going to just pin myself so I can see when I'm doing that. There you go. Here we go. Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Maria Bayer. I am the creator of Irresistible Selling. You might have heard of that. I've been around for a long time now. I think this is our 10th year of providing Irresistible Selling. And it is basically a combination group coaching / mastermind program to help anybody in the wedding industry, whether you're a planner, photographer, etc., book high-paying clients and do it easily, without chasing clients, without feeling icky or spammy. And Amber can attest to that because she's been in the program. And so, a lot of my clients and know how we teach. So I'm here today just to share some of those great strategies with you and how you can start booking high-paying clients and stop chasing, right? Because nobody likes to chase because it feels icky, right? And we want to make selling fun and feel like good for you, because the more you like it, and the more it doesn't feel like selling, the more you're going to do it, and the more successful you're going to be, and the better clients you're going to attract and book. So that's who I am. I don't know, Amber, if you wanted to interject anything before I go into my slides.
Sorry, I followed my own request. I muted myself. No, yeah, I will say to Maria's point, I have been through the program. I've sent my team through the program and I found it really helpful. So I'm excited to hear from you today, even just like from in a post-COVID world, and how sales have transformed and shifted and all of that. So yeah, take it away.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So bear with me for just a second. Okay. Can everybody see that? Awesome. All right. So today we're going to talk about how to turn inquiries into high-paying clients. And as Haley said in the beginning, we'll leave time at the end for questions. But if you have questions, you can post them in the chat as we go, and we'll go through those at the end. And then if for whatever reason we don't have time to cover all of them, you're more than welcome to DM me, and I'm happy to help you out. Okay. So this is really for you, whether you are a seasoned pro or you're just starting out. all of the things I teach really apply no matter what stage of business you're in. But what I'm going to focus on today is really the things that are going to help you level it up several levels, right? And help you get into that next level market and book clients that book your top packages, not your base packages, and really just value you where you don't have to feel like you're convincing people. Okay, so without further ado, we'll get started. So today, what you're going to learn is the key to converting your inquiries into high-paying clients, why it works, and how to actually apply it in your business. I know sometimes you go to educational events like this and they don't tell you the how, and I'm going to tell you the how because I want you to take notes and be able to apply what you're using today with your next inquiry. And it's not uncommon for my clients to book clients after applying what they learned that day. So, and then at the end, we'll have time for Q&A. And if you'd like to take it further, I'll share some additional resources with you. And stick around because I have a gift for you at the end. Hi again, I'm Maria. As I said, I'm the creator of Irresistible Selling, and I also have a Facebook community for wedding pros called Learn, Collaborate, Flourish. And I'm what I call a sales and mindset strategist. And when I say strategist, it's what I do is I try to give you strategies that work, but also strategize with you because sometimes you learn things and it's not an always or never thing. It depends. And so that's what I do with my clients. I strategize with them and I look at what they're doing and say, okay, based on what you're telling me, this is what I recommend that you do. And we focus on sales and mindset strategies. And unlike a lot of educators, I'm a little bit different. I don't come from the wedding industry. I come from actually software sales. So I was in the sales industry for years and years, and that's where I learned a lot of my strategies. And I worked with Fortune 500 companies. And what's important about that and why it's important to you is that I learned things working with big companies that small business owners might never learn or have access to, just because we were competing on a different type of stage, so to speak. So I like to bring those strategies to small business owners so that you can learn the high-end strategies that people use in the corporate world. And I've got 25 million in book sales under my belt, and I'm also a speaker and author. Okay, and that, by the way, is my husband, Tim, and my little fur baby, Jessie. And we're from actually Chicago, born and raised, but a few years ago, pre-pandemic, we moved to Arizona. So you can find me in Phoenix. So if you're ever here, swing by and say hi. Okay, first things first. Before we get into the actual sales strategies, what I have to share with you is you have to believe something is possible for you before you can draw it to you. Right? You are meant to be abundant, right? We are not meant to be on this earth and struggle, and that you can book clients you love, and you can be paid well for your services, and you can make multi-six figures. And the even better news is you do not have to be the most experienced, the most talented, or the most connected person. And you don't have to live in a big town or a wealthy area. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time. When you believe that you are worth more, you will start attracting more. And I really wanted to start with this because I can teach you everything I know in terms of sales, but if you don't believe it's possible for you, if you have beliefs that say, oh, it's going to take me 10 years to get successful, or I have to have this much experience in order to charge this, or I have to live in a wealthier town, that's just your mindset keeping you small and keeping you safe, right? So I want you to understand that when you believe that you're worth more, you'll start attracting more. And I want to show you what's possible. So 2 quick examples. Connie is one of my clients. She's a floral designer. She, in her first year of business, did $18,000. Not bad for your first year in business. In her second year of business, when she came to me and joined Irresistible Selling, she booked $195,000. And that's in year 2 of her business. And she lived in a small town in Montana, or she lives in a small town in Montana. And she did it during the pandemic when events were shut down. And it was her second year. So if you have any of these thoughts in your head, I'm I want to share Connie's example with you so that you can see that this is possible for you too. And Sarah is a planner. She's also a refiner. She went from $120,000 in 2021 to $451,000, almost 4x in 1 year. She hired 4 team members. She went from charging $8,000 to between $18,000 and $20,000. And her team charges about $12K. And she's now growing her business internationally. She's got some really exciting things on the books right now, and she's done this in less than 2 years. So if you know Sarah, I would absolutely look at what she's doing, reach out to her, congratulate her, but also just see that it is possible for you. So let's get into it. The key to converting inquiries into high-paying clients is implementing a proven sales framework that does these things. A sales framework should qualify, it should make you stand out, it should build value, it should build a sense of urgency, and it should consistently book high-paying aligned clients, right? Not just any client, but people that are your aligned clients, your people, right? Without being pushy or salesy or chasing clients, because nothing feels worse than having to chase after clients. And I don't want you to have to do that, because if you chase, it's not going to be the right energy, number one. And number two, you're not going to like it. So you're not going to want to do it. And if you don't learn how to sell yourself and your services, you're never going to be able to grow your business, regardless of what marketing you have. So this is a really important part of your growth. So why is having and following a framework important? Having a framework process, basically, that allows you to charge your worth and make it fun for clients to buy will show that you're an expert and you're in demand, right? And it will make clients chase you instead, okay? If you think about even when you're shopping, if you go to a Louis Vuitton store or a YSL store or something, you've got to make an appointment, right? They have a particular process that they bring you through to elevate your experience. And so having that process will make you show you that you're an expert and in demand. So why is qualifying clients important? We're going to go through each of these things, why it's important, but then also how to implement it in your business. So I want you to be able to take notes so that you can apply it. First, qualifying is important because time is money, and it does both you and your client a disservice if they're not a good fit. So rather than you vetting somebody on the phone or some other way, I want your process to vet them. And if they're not a good fit, I want your process to filter them out, right? Because sales is a confidence game. And if you have a call with a client and they're not a good fit, even if you know that in your head, it's still going to chip away at your confidence. And that's not going to help you sell and portray this level of confidence that your clients are really buying, right? Qualifying clients is also important because losing clients, even those that are a bad fit, chips away at your confidence, as we just said. And after the last few years, really, who needs another high maintenance client? We've all been through the ringer, and planners in particular have been through the ringer. I know I've had many conversations with Amber and other educators, and I know what the last few years has done for you and to you. So I want you to create a sustainable business where you're making money. So why is standing out important? Here's the thing. When you sound like every other vendor, you force your client to make a decision on price. Remember that. When you sound like every other vendor, you force your client to make a decision on price. So I want you to be able to stand out so they don't make their And standing out helps clients see more value in you and pay you more. Because when they see more value in you, they will pay you more than someone else. So standing out is really important. And we're going to talk about ways that you can do that. Now, why is building value important? This is probably my soapbox that you hear me talk about if you're in my world, because building value is absolutely the most important thing that you can learn. And if you learn it, this is what I tell my clients, if you learn how to build value, all the rest of the stuff I teach you is less important, right? Because the more value you build, the more money your client will pay. Literally, like, copy that down, put it on a sticky note and put it on your computer so you remember that. The more value you build, the more money your client will pay. And if you can't communicate your value, you can't get paid for your value. So if you're not booking your top packages consistently right now, then you'll be stuck at those prices. You won't be able to raise your prices until you build more value, right? And then when you're good at building value, there's literally no limit to what you can charge. I mean, look at Sarah. She went from $8,000 to $20,000. And I've got clients that charge even more than that as planners. So there is literally no limit to what you can charge. Now let's talk about building urgency and why is that important? Most importantly, so you can stop chasing clients, right? Who likes to chase clients? And you can stop following up, right? I see so many people out there, educators, saying, oh, you should follow up this many times because statistically it takes people this many times to respond, blah, blah, blah. No, that may work, but does it feel good? Nope. And to me, it changes the energy. You don't want to chase clients because it puts out the wrong energy and it takes you out of the driver's seat. And you're the business owner. So I want you to be in the driver's seat and I want your clients to want you, right? So it's important not to chase in order to retain that energy and that power. And it will help clients happily book on the spot when you build urgency. And this is really, I'm going to share some really fun things for you to do. And why is consistently booking high paying aligned clients important? Because it allows you to scale and grow a business that you love. And if there's anything the last few years have taught us, it's that we don't have time to waste, right? Time is the one resource you do not have an unlimited supply of. And as more of you are building families and wanting to travel, you have to charge more. You have to book clients at your highest rates. You have to book your biggest packages. That's going to allow you to give you the quality of life that you want. It's going to allow you to grow a team. It's going to allow you to build a legacy, right, for your children. So now that we talked about the why, let's talk about the how, right? How to qualify clients. First, ask strategic questions in your contact form and your questionnaire. So first thing I want to ask, I can't see the answers yet, but we'll talk about it later. How many of you actually have a questionnaire that you give to your clients in addition to the contact form that they enter their details in on your website, right? If you don't have one, I would highly suggest that you create one immediately and use that as part of your process, right? The reason why you want to have a questionnaire is because by the time you get on the phone with them, I want them to be qualified, right? I want you to know things about that client. I want you to know if it's a good fit. I want you to know what's important to them and why it's important before you even get on the phone with them, because that will allow you to spend that time on the phone really connecting, right? And not talking about minutia, things that you could have talked about in your questionnaire. So that's why a questionnaire is so important. Number two, make clients follow your inquiry process. Here's again where I see differing opinions out there about what you should do. I've heard people say, oh, if someone DMs you, you should, respond right away and, try to sell them in the DMs. I'm going to respectfully disagree with that, because if you don't have them follow your process, you can't track them, right? You can't give them a consistent experience. And number two, when we talked earlier about what a vetted process and framework does for you, it shows that you're an expert and that you're in demand. If you were not in demand, then you could answer people willy-nilly. You've got all time in the world to do that. But if you are if you're coming from a place of, I am in demand, I am busy, I am, a successful business owner, you need to make them follow your process. It shows that you are an expert. So if someone contacts you by DM, for example, just send a reply back quickly and say, hey, I'm so excited that you reached out. Here's a link to my contact form. It'll take you 30 seconds if you wouldn't mind filling that out for me, and we can begin our chat. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. Next point, don't sell over email. This is one of my favorite things to share because so many times we think we're trying to be helpful by providing a lot of information to, people that inquire. It's the wrong thing to do because you're giving them too much information. The goal should be just to get them to that next step, which is to schedule a call, right? So if you try to sell over email, you're not going to be able to build value. And so building value is most easily done when you're actually talking live. So that's why I don't want you to sell over email, because it's really hard to build value that way. It's really hard to build any kind of connection that way, right? And you're not selling a commodity. You are selling a service, right? And it's not a have to have, it's a nice to have. This is something that people budget for, and it's a luxury service. So you need to have a luxury process so that your clients see that value. If you're just selling over email, it takes away from your value. It takes away from what you're trying to portray to that client, which is, I am a high-end service. I am somebody that's going to give you a high level of service, and you're going to feel very well taken care of. Next, don't send your pricing over email. I know a lot of you do that. I know a lot of people have done that, but I'm telling you, it's, again, for the same reasons we just talked about, it's really hard to build value when you're just sending your pricing. Because if you think about it from your client's perspective, they are looking at your pricing potentially versus someone else's pricing. And if you haven't spoken with them, if you haven't had a chance to build value, all they're doing is taking these bullet points and these bullet points and making the best decision based on who's providing the most for the least amount of money, right? So you force your client to make a decision on price when you do that. So instead, I want you to get to a phone call. And that's the last point, get clients to book a call. So that should be your next step, is when they inquire, if you are available and that is potentially a good fit for you based on how they answered the inquiry form, then the next step should be to book a call. Now let's talk about how to stand out. Here's the wonderful thing about standing out. You don't have to offer a completely unique service to stand out. I know you might think that there's a lot of planners in your area, and that might be true, but you don't have to actually offer something completely different from other people to stand out. You can stand out in very easy ways. For example, you can stand out by an inquiry process that is different than everybody else. So if everyone else is answering people in the DMs, but you're saying to them, hey, would you mind filling out my contact form and making them go through your process, you're going to stand out. Number two, a really easy way. In fact, I just had a client post in our group a few days ago. She's a new client, and she said, I literally asked my prospective client questions that nobody else was asking, and they booked her. So ask questions that nobody else is asking. And when I say that, I mean, ask them questions about what's important to them and why it's important. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about that later, but think about the questions that you're asking and think about, how can I phrase them in a way, or how can I ask them strategic questions that is different than what everybody else is asking, right? If everyone else is asking about the color scheme and, where you're having it and you just the minutia of the day, instead of like, what's important to you about your wedding and why, you're going to stand out and you're going to draw out from that client what's important to them. And that's going to make them feel completely differently about you than everybody else. The next thing, gently guide your clients through your process. This is something that I think so many clients, or so many business owners just in general, don't do well enough, is that they don't lead them through their process, right? I think the automatic response and reaction is, oh, well, I just want to be very amenable to them. I want to be open to them, and I want to be answering their questions, et cetera. And I get that. And I was that way too, actually, for a long time. But if you gently guide your clients through the process, they're going to look at you as more of the expert. And that's really what you want. They're coming to you because you're an expert. So if you don't guide them through your process, they're going to guide you. Right? Have you ever had a meeting where it was just all over the board? They were asking you questions, throwing questions at you left and right, and you're like, oh my God, this meeting just went haywire. Chances are that happened because you did not take control of that meeting and tell them what to expect in that meeting. right? So you weren't guiding them through your process. It's an easy, easy way to stand out. Lastly, if you want to be known for providing a high-end service, you have to implement a high-end process. So again, if you think about any of the designers that make you, book an appointment to go see their merchandise, you can see how they have a different process, right, for a different level of service. So think the same way for your business as well. Now, how to build value. Again, the most important thing you can do, right? Follow up in a timely manner. And you might think this is silly, but I cannot tell you how many people do not respond to inquiries. They just don't, or they respond days later. In sales, the person that responds first often wins, right? Time is critical when you're talking about sales. So when someone reaches out to you, don't wait several days to respond back, right? You could lose that client. Number 2, focus on benefits, not features. You've probably heard the difference between features and benefits. An easy way to think about that is features are the what, benefits are the why, right? You need to focus more time on benefits than features. So features for a planner could be, we'll do, all these bullet points for you for your wedding, right? We'll handle the invitations, we'll handle the seating, we'll handle, coordination of vendors, we'll do venue selection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are features. But I want you to focus more on benefits, right? Because features are very logical and people don't make decisions. They don't make decisions logically, right? They make decisions emotionally. So I want you to focus on the benefits because the benefits are going to draw out their emotions and speak to what matters to them. Here's an example. So you might say the features might be, we can offer you partial planning or full planning. Okay, great. But what are the benefits of both, right? So connect the dots to what those benefits are for your client. You can't assume that your clients know what you know, right? And they don't know what they don't know. So you need to connect those dots for people. So when you think about, if you just, after this call, if you just think about your process and how your conversations typically go with your clients, just think in your mind, okay, how often am I focusing on features and not benefits, right? This will take you so far if you do this one thing and nothing else, right? So focus more on benefits because most people focus on features. So not only will this help you build value, but it'll help you stand out as well. And another way to do that is to ask why questions versus what questions. So what questions will draw out, what they want. Why is more important. Why is that important to you? Why do you want this? Why do you want full service? Why do you want to work with a planner that is experienced and has worked at these venues before? Why is it important to you that you hire I'm trying to think of the best word, an experienced planner to create the wedding of your dreams? Why is that important? Don't discount the fact that they might be just checking the box, right? When people are looking at wedding vendors, they're in a very much check the box mode, right? They're in a very logical mode, right? You asking why questions helps get them out of that logical mind and into their emotions, right? And when you can help them connect to their emotions and what's important to them and why, then you've got them, right? Because now they understand the value of what you're doing. And walk them through how you will serve them before, during, and after the wedding, right? There might be things that you do after the wedding that other planners don't. There are lots of things you do before the wedding that other planners don't. But remember, a lot of your clients think most of your value is on the wedding day. So automatically, if you focus your conversation on not just the wedding day, but what happens before and what happens after that you do for them, you've automatically expanded your value. And here's the thing, even if every other planner helps their clients in the same way, if they didn't talk about it, but you did, guess who wins? You do. Okay, let's talk about urgency. The key to building urgency and not being salesy, right? That's the key, is to do it from the very beginning, right? People ask me for closing strategies. And while, yes, I do offer closing strategies, the reason why they work is because my clients are implementing what I told them to implement before they close the client, right? So when you spring something on someone at the last minute during the proposal, for example, that's going to sound disingenuous. That's going to sound pushy and salesy. That's going to sound like you just want their business and that's it, right? So the way you do that is you build scarcity into your process, right? And you can do this very, very easily. If you ever have gotten an email back from another vendor where they say, hey, give us, thanks for reaching out. It might be 24 to 48 hours before we get back to you due to the volume of inquiries we're receiving, right? So I love autoresponders like that. I love putting information like that in all areas of your business. So on your website, on your contact form, on your email footer, in your autoresponder. When you do something as simple as that, what you do is you educate your client because they don't know that you're getting a ton of inquiries. But what it's telling them is, oh, she's so busy. My gosh, I can't sit on the fence, right? So do you see how if you do something as simple as this from the beginning, not at the very end, but in the beginning, how you are building that sense of urgency from day one? And that's just one example of how to build scarcity. Another way is to say, we only take 8 clients a year, for example. And the reason we do that is so that we can offer a bespoke service. It's so that we can offer our clients the most unique designs, right? Because our clients like to lead the trends, not follow the trends. So when you use scarcity like that from the beginning, you'll be amazed at how fast those clients will book you. Next thing, put an expiration date on all your proposals. First thing is I recommend do not hold dates, right? Don't hold dates. If you hold dates, it's just going to make your business really complicated and it's not going to give anybody any incentive to say yes to you, right? So my clients all say nothing is booked until you sign a contract and you've made your first payment. So put an expiration date on all of your proposals because you want to be able to, if that person, let's say they have a long runway until their wedding and they come back to you in 3 months, but your prices went up because most of my clients raise their prices regularly, you don't want to have to honor that. Last thing, put batch availability and don't open up more than a week in advance. Most people don't tell you this. I like to batch availability for a couple of reasons. One, it's easier for your calendar, but it's also when you are doing sales calls, right? You want to kind of be in that frame of mind. And when I do them, I batch them because I like to be hyper focused on my client and really listen to them and understand what they're struggling with and what their goals are, et cetera. So batch them, number one, but you don't want to open up more than a week in advance. Here's why. A, you want to show that you're in demand, right? If you offer dates well into the future, but you don't hold dates, you'd have to be like canceling all those later dates because that date might have been booked, in between now and the time that they schedule a call. Second reason is, like I said before, time is really critical when you're talking about sales. Someone that reaches out to you might be reaching out to 2 other people. And guess what? If they responded to them before you did, and they had a call before you did, by the time they have your call, they're done. They're already sold. So oftentimes my clients will be the first one that the client speaks to, and they cancel all the rest of their calls because they love them so much, they book them there at the spot. So only book out like a week in advance. And how to consistently book high-paying clients, you do all of the above, and you create a process that you can follow consistently. The reason why you want to follow the same process every single time, it might sound simple, but you want to be able to assess where you need to bolster up your process, right? So if a client comes to me and says, hey, I'm getting ghosted, I'll say, okay, where in the process are you getting ghosted? because it's a very different problem if they're getting ghosted from the time from an inquiry stage versus after they have the first phone call. That's a different problem to have. So if you follow a consistent process, you're able to regularly assess your results and identify what might not be working, right? And it allows you to reverse engineer. So if you're following a process, again, if you're experiencing something, you can work backwards and say, okay, this is what I need to do to fix this problem moving forward. That will allow you to raise your prices, rinse and repeat. And when you implement a proven sales framework, you'll reap the rewards of all the time and money you've invested in marketing and building your business, right? So marketing is bringing people to your door. And while you could bring 1 million people to your door, if you can't book any of them, all that time and energy and money was wasted. So I want you to leverage all that investment that you've made by being able to book those clients, filter out the ones that aren't a good fit, book the ones that are a good fit for your top packages. It will elevate your brand. It'll allow you to book your bigger packages instead of your base packages. You'll book more of the inquiries that you receive, right? So it's not uncommon for my clients to go from booking 30% of the inquiries to 80%, for example. It'll allow you to raise your fees, right? Because if you're not booking clients consistently now, then you won't be able to raise your fees. So when you're able to build more value and book more clients, you'll be able to raise your fees over time. And that's what helps you multiply your sales and go from 18,000 to 200,000, in a year, because at that point, it's just a question of math. It'll help you attract the clients you love, filter out the ones that you don't, and build a business that feeds your soul and your bank account. Because while building, feeding your soul is great, feeding your bank account is important too, because you have to be in business tomorrow to benefit anybody else. And it'll allow you to create a legacy. And elevating your brand, implementing a proven sales framework provides you a gateway to raising your prices and attracting high-end clients and even partners who wouldn't consider you if you were priced lower. Now, this is kind of I don't know if it's a full-blown secret, but I don't think everybody knows this. And as you are elevating your clientele and trying to get to that next level client, if you're not priced high enough, you won't be considered, not only by that client, but also by partners as well. For example, there was a photographer in our group a while back who had said, I'd love to book some luxury clients. This is what I'm priced at. What do you think? And people chimed in and said, I love your work. You do amazing work, but you're priced too low. I can't put you in front of my clients because they're used to paying, say, $15,000, $20,000 for a photographer, and you're priced at $8,000. So I can't even put you in front of them because they're going to think, what's wrong with her pricing? Why is she so low, even though she's so good, right? So you have to always think about from the perspective of your client. And I'll leave you with this. You are where you are in life because of what you believe is possible for yourself. And I want to share your gifts. So I love offering gifts. So I'm offering a complimentary discovery call. And this was best suited for established businesses that are getting inquiries. So if you're not getting inquiries, you can message me and I can give you some resources for that. But these calls are really designed for people that are getting inquiries. And I'll share with you some high-end strategies for moving your business forward based on where you're at. And I can share with you what some of my clients are doing. And I can't do calls for every single person. So I've opened up my calendar. And if you book your call by, let's see, today is, what's today, Tuesday? If you book your call by end of day Friday, I will honor that. But anything booked after that, I can't guarantee it because I don't have an endless number of slots. So, and if you've never had a call with me, book it. But if you have, if you could leave it open for people that haven't had a call with me. But that's what I'd like to offer you to help get you to the next level. And if you'd like to join me, you can join me in my private Facebook group, Learn, Collaborate, Flourish, or sign up for my free Book a Client in 5-Day Challenge. Those are some extra resources for you that are free. And I'll stop my share so that we can take questions.
Thank you so much,
Haley,
Maria.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Haley, I know that you were tracking questions, so I'll let you kind of feed those to Maria real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't get too many. We've got some great commentary during
Yeah.
the session. So if anybody does have any questions, feel free to pop those in now. I think a couple accidentally came directly to me, so I will go ahead and read one of these. I think let's see. It says, and feel free to add context when I read this, but there was questions about pricing and if it should be shared in the proposal or only when we have the client on the phone call, actually for that initial sales call.
Yeah. So for pricing, there's a couple answers to that. It really depends on what kinds of inquiries you're getting. I will generally say, put a starting point on your website so that people know, especially if you're getting a ton of inquiries that are not good fits, right? Because their budget is too low, then you really do need to start putting a little bit more qualifiers up. So that could be, our packages start at this, etc. But I don't ever advocate putting your pricing online. And when you have your inquiry form, I would put a budget question in there. And then some people even put another question in the actual questionnaire as well as the inquiry form. So it just depends, again, on how many unqualified inquiries you're getting. That's how many sort of like gates I put up, or I recommend people put up just to like further qualify, so that if they just say, oh, my budget's 500 and you start at 5,000, you don't get on a call with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Then a follow-up question to that was, how long should you give somebody to sign a contract?
Okay, so if you're saying you're not going to hold dates, then you cannot guarantee that date is going to be available. You can say this pricing is good for a week, but we can't guarantee availability until it's booked. So you give yourself that out while giving them, you can give them a little bit of time to do that. But I don't generally like to give people more than a week. But most of my clients, I'll teach them to book them on the spot if they can, or within like 24 hours.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely important if you don't have an expiration date on your contract to make sure that you do. So that if, I think we've all signed a contract that we maybe later on are like, maybe that client might not have been the best fit. So definitely making sure that you expire that contract and there's not just a contract living out there in case you do book on another date or you don't want double bookings or things like that. Thank you, Maria. Kimberly asks, should I do an autoresponder that directs to a pre-qualification questionnaire and then they reach out, but not until they fill out the form?
Say that one more time.
Should I do an autoresponder that directs to a pre-qualification questionnaire and then reach out, but not until they fill out the form?
No. What I generally say is when they inquire with your inquiry form, respond to them. You can have an autoresponder that says, hey, well, thanks for your inquiry. We received it. We'll be in touch within 24 hours, whatever your time frame is. Then when you respond back, a lot of my clients will customize this, right, based on the situation. So they might say, oh yeah, we're available. I love that venue. I've done a lot of work there, et cetera, et cetera. I'd love to chat with you to see if we're a good mutual fit here. Click here to schedule time on my calendar. Give them a Calendly or an Acuity or a Dubsado link to get on your calendar. Again, don't book it out more than a week in advance, and make them get on your calendar. Then once they do that, then send them the questionnaire. And the reason is you don't want that questionnaire to be in the way before creating that meeting. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. Yeah. I think autoresponders for initial increase, it's better if you can have a canned response, but it's definitely better, like you said, to personalize that and make that initial connection with them. Emily says, I'd like a little clarity on following up in a timely manner. I like to try to keep good work-life balance, so I won't respond to inquiries that come in over the weekend or after office hours. I will respond the following morning or Monday morning if they came in over the weekend. Is this okay?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, you have to have a life, right? But I do think it makes sense to have an autoresponder, especially if, you can say I know a lot of my clients will be like, I'm out for the 3-day weekend, or because we're working this event, this person's wedding, et cetera. It's really good to set the expectations of the potential client, but also sometimes people sign a contact form and you don't even know if it went, right? So it's nice to get that autoresponder to confirm, oh my God, yes, that you did get it. And then they've got something to show that you actually responded and remind them that they actually reached out to you. Because if they have nothing in their email, they might have reached out to 2 other planners, and then they totally forgot that they reached out to you because you don't have an autoresponder and it's the weekend.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think communicating that boundary is really important too. And it's a good way to do it. Let people know you got their email. It's not just lost in
Exactly.
email. Laura says, how do you book on the spot if you need to send a proposal after the call?
Okay. So that gets into some booking strategies that I share with my clients. So I want to be respectful of my paying clients, but you change up your process so that you make sure that you talk to them and give them the pricing on the phone.
Yeah. I think if you even something that we do is just consider that like a verbal commitment, right? You can still always follow up with a proposal and all of that good stuff. The urgency, I think, in that is really important, Laura. If that gives you any sort of tip or trick for that. But we often will have people verbally commit and then, you know, send a proposal as soon as possible. And I pretty much consider that, like, if I get them what they need, I consider that kind of a booking on the spot plan as well. So that's great. Another question here. What are your thoughts on how to handle inquiries that won't schedule a time, calendar link sent, but keep insisting for pricing before speaking with you? Good question.
Yeah, no. No. They don't respect you enough. They don't care enough to schedule a call with you. Guess what? Your process did its job.
Totally agree.
And you have to like, the first couple times that's a tough pill to swallow, but then after a while it's very freeing because you realize those aren't my people. If they really wanted to talk with you, they'd spend 20 minutes on the phone with you to get to know you, right? It's a very intimate relationship you have with your clients, right? You want them to want to get to know you. If they don't want to get to know you at all, they just want to hire someone sight unseen based on a number that they see on email, they're not your client.
Yeah, people go price shopping a lot, and if they're price shopping for you from the get-go, it's likely that they might not be the best fit in the long run, and you might have saved yourself some heartache and pain later on down the line. So absolutely. All right. Any other questions rolling in here? Let me just look and make sure I didn't miss anything. Let's see. So sorry, just reviewing everything here. See if anything else came in.
And I put a link to the discovery call in the chat.
Yes, thank you for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Amber sent me something. How do you feel about like chat boxes on websites for communicating with clients? And if you do use those, do you have any companies that you recommend, or what are your thoughts on those things?
I love it, actually. I love it. If that's something that you want to offer, I kind of like it because it gives people immediate gratification. And in that very first stage, you're just trying to grab them and get them to the next stage. I had a sales manager that taught me, like my very first sales manager that taught me a lot. And he said, the goal of any step in your process is to get to the next step. And for me, in the very beginning, when people haven't invested really in you, you kind of want to offer just increasing barricades isn't the right word, but increasing hoops for them to go through to show their commitment to you. And in the beginning, you don't want to give them a huge, gigantic hoop to go through. Like, don't make me search through your website to find your contact form or to find where you actually, like, here's a good one. Don't make me search to find out what city you actually serve. I tell you how many planners I look at and I'm like, I don't know what state you're in. I don't know if I should even reach out to you.
People don't realize that they're making it hard for themselves to get booked, right? Like there are simple steps that you can take to make yourself really visible. Having your email on your website is another thing. A lot of people don't do that. You know, people are reaching out to collaborate with you and your inquiry form doesn't cover that base. It's important to have your email on your site as well. So
So just to circle back with that answer because I didn't answer it fully, but I don't have any specific companies that I've worked with personally that I can vouch for. But if that's part of, I just think that technology today is evolving so quickly that we really need to be on top of that. You know, I remember when I started Irresistible Selling, it was before we had like Acuity and Calendly. So people were like, I was teaching people to go back and forth and like give them a couple of options, you know. So we've evolved since then. So you really need to stay on the trends, but keeping in mind your boundaries, right?
Absolutely.
What that allows you to do. I would have like specific hours, or if it's not like a bot,
Yeah.
if it's a bot, that's easy, right? Because then you can configure it. I think it's great if you've got like something like for Amber, since she, you know, she is not a, you know, in her planning business full-time anymore. Having a chat bot when you have like an open enrollment or something is a really great idea.
Yeah, I love that. We had one more question come in, and then we'll do the kind of last call for questions, let everybody back to their day as we come up on the hour. Do you have a great opener? Often the first 15 seconds can be awkward. I guess this is for, you know, opening up a sales call.
Oh yeah. All right. So aside from saying hello and so glad that you're here, I like to really set the tone of the meeting. So I talked about like gently guiding your clients through your process. That works on the micro level too, meaning like if you're in a meeting with them, a call with them, tell them what the purpose of the meeting is, right? Tell them what to expect from the call. If you're not doing that, then it's just going to run amok and it's just going to be like all over the place and you're not going to keep control of it. I like you to keep control of that meeting and gently guide your clients through it. You can ask questions like, how'd you meet and all that kind of stuff, but I love to really look at some of the answers that they gave you and really tie into some of those. So for example, if they've already selected a venue and you've worked at that venue, it's a great tie-in. Oh, I love this venue. You're going to love it. You know, that reinforces the decision that they already made and allows you to build value because you're showing that you've worked at that venue. And if you connect the dots and show the benefits of you working at that venue, right? So here's an example. The girl that did the ceremony music for my church wedding, when I told her where I was getting married, she's like, oh, I work with that church a bunch of times. I know the church director, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, done, you know, like totally built value with me just by having that relationship.
Yeah, I think that's great. Something I always do too is I'll kind of start and just kind of to break the ice. I'm like, is it just you and I on the call today? You know, I want to make sure I'm not ignoring somebody else if they're listening in, or, you know, it's really important to me that both partners are involved in this process, just to kind of let them know like, hey, I'm not just trying to get through things. Like I'm listening, I'm here, I'm present with you. And I've received a lot of really great feedback. They're like, oh, actually someone is here. Like, I don't just want to steamroll through that initial part of the conversation too. So that's great. Amber says, I always said, is now still a good time? Thank you for taking a moment out of your day to talk with me. I would love to hear about why you're excited about a planner and how we can meet your needs. Yes, it's definitely good to, I think the tone of your voice and how you lead it will also help with easing any kind of tension when somebody gets on a call. Cause you know, you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you when you're making a sale. So it's really important to make that immediate connection and just come in really positive and match their vibes. And like Amber said, use their words. They, like Maria was saying too, that they submitted in their questionnaire to sell them. So
yeah, and too, like I can't remember a time that anyone said, no, now it's not still a good time, but they might, what would happen is someone would be like, yeah, no, let's talk. My daughter does whatever. And so like, they'll go ahead and confess whatever awkward thing is happening behind the scenes. So you know what you're working with.
Yeah.
Great. Love it.
Awesome. Well, as Maria said, she did drop that link in the chat to go ahead and book a discovery call with her. I'm dropping some links I'm dropping a message in the chat on where you can find Refine. If you're a planner and not in our free Facebook group, feel free to click there and come join us. So we're pretty fun. We have a good time. Our website is there as well if you want to look at some of our template offerings and all of that good stuff. And then if this is your first introduction to Refine and you want to know what it is that we do and what templates might be a good fit, or you want to learn about our planning platform called the Refine portal, if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, you can set up a discovery call with me as well. And I will drop that link in the chat in addition to that. And yes, Amber did just drop the Instagram. I'm pulling all the links, pulling all the links at once over here.
I don't know if that registered as a link, but if you guys want a really good laugh, you can go look at the Gwyneth Paltrow link that I posted a day or two ago. The comments are hysterical.
Yeah.
Anyway, Maria, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure, and it's always good to refine these skills and narrow in on them. So I appreciate the ability to talk those out with you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Amber and Haley. It was great to see you all. And I'll see you all in our discovery calls or inner groups. And so happy to be here, and go sell and book clients you love.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's what it's about. All right.
Everybody,
Bye, everyone.
bye y'all.